governor laid out a plan. He mentioned $200 million in tornado relief. Is this something that you all have worked with the governor at all on? Is this just an issue that you also have an interest in? What did you think when you heard that?
We have obviously had some conversations with the governor over the last week to 10 days, I would say, just tossing back and forth some proposals, things that we can do to infuse cash into the region as quickly as possible. Still waiting for a lot of, quite frankly, determination as to what the best way to deploy money is. We know that there's some things that we can do quickly to make an impact as quickly as possible, and certainly we are ready, willing, and able to do those things as quickly as possible. There's some other things along the line that we're going to have to tackle over the next weeks, months, and quite possibly even into the next session. But certainly we are fully ready to work on any of those issues as they come up and move them as quickly as we possibly can.
I agree with the speaker. There's some certain things here that will be urgent and of emergency nature, but then there will be others that we haven't quite gotten assessments on. And what will be paid for by FEMA, what will be paid for by insurance. And if we have a need to put things into the system while awaiting FEMA or insurance, that was a discussion I had with the governor a couple days after the events, because we've done that in places, but we want to make sure if there is insurance coverage or FEMA to cover that, that they are fully responsible before we have to put any of our dollars into it. But we want to make sure it happens logically, systematically, that we know what we have good evaluations. And for instance, we don't know what it's going to cost to replace some buildings yet. So we may not need to do reconstruction money just yet, but during the session, we may have to revisit it. Temporary housing, we may have to do something now.
Do you think it's possible that you don't know some of those answers by the end of the legislative session? How much something's going to cost, how long something's going to last?
That's possible.
Yeah.
Will you just have to, at that point, just kind of, will you want to do something, even if you don't have all the answers?
It's hard to say, to speculate. So, that's why I think we need to have good discussions, fact-finding, very, very candid, straight-up types of discussions. And we don't want to open up things to where you're seeing some of these predators move in because they know there's going to be a lot of cash infused to the system. And as you've seen, the Attorney General has started a list of bona fide vendors in certain areas, not these fly-by-nights that are going to take some money and then walk off.
Did y'all agree with the basic assessment? Good economy, COVID persists, and we need to help the tornado-ravaged communities. I mean, that seemed like the three basic themes of this speech. Does that seem like a fair characterization of the state of the Commonwealth to you all?
I think that you have to define what the state of the Commonwealth is, Mark. The fact of the matter is, revenues are good, but does that mean the economy is good? If you're a small business owner looking for people to work right now, or can't open your doors because you can't find a sufficient workforce, the lowest workforce participation rate we've had since 1972, the economy may not be so good. There are certainly certain sectors of the economy that have been impacted by federal dollars. That part of the economy is probably pretty good for them. The business of state government that is collecting tax revenues on those federal dollars has been pretty positive. But I think that there is this assumption that because state revenues are positive, that the economy is clicking along on all cylinders. And I think when you understand that Kentucky ranks 48th in the workforce in the country in workforce participation, over 90,000 unfilled jobs in Kentucky. There are huge holes in our economy that have got to be addressed before we truly have an economy that's clicking along on all cylinders.
And I think when you look at the budget, there has been an increase in corporate tax and an increase in personal income tax to the revenues, but not correlating with this huge spike in sales tax, which has been artificially created by the infusion of federal dollars into this system. That's, if you think about disposable income, that's when you're going to see an increase in sales tax. There's not been that big of increase in personal income tax to justify this 15-16% spike in sales tax. It's been artificially created by the federal government, and as David said, the speaker said, we've been the beneficiaries of those people spending at retail. But the 48th in workforce participation recently came back listening to 2 professors at the Harvard School of Business. I think in this state we're 27% below hourly wage worker participation than we were pre-COVID. That's substantial.
What are things you wish that he had talked about a little bit more that you didn't really hear from him tonight?
You know, I think the governor makes a good speech, and quite frankly, I think as policymakers, I'm not particularly worried about the words I hear in a speech. I greatly value the words that we exchange together. I greatly value the times that we've had to sit down with him and have open conversations about policy. I like to move beyond speeches, so I can't say that there's one particular thing that I wanted to hear that I didn't hear. I want to hear. I want to have that conversation directly.
Actions need to follow words. We've said this over and over again. When we have been able to sit down with the governor, we've been able to sit down and have good, legitimate discussions, as the speaker has said, but those have been too few. And really, the discussions have only really been more frequent since the Supreme Court ruling.
He gave a snippet of what to expect in the budget address. Do you support pay raises for government employees?
It depends on how you do this. I think there has been created a new minimum wage, not by statute, but because of what has happened in the COVID situation. How you apply that, I think we're going to have to be competitive with the private sector. That's the reality. Now, how you do it and the logistics of it become the bigger question.
As far as I know we mentioned money for the Brent Spence Bridge or a companion bridge. What are your thoughts about that proposal? I know tolling was also mentioned, the fact that he's not wanting tolling. I know that's a big issue, but what are your general thoughts about that part?
I think that's obviously been on the state's infrastructure wish list, for several years. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want to see the bridge built. Everybody understands the need, understands the commercial and financial and economic impact of that bridge and the traffic that travels across it every single day. Obviously, we are still waiting for a lot of guidance from the federal government relating to how we can spend those infrastructure dollars. We know that there's billions of dollars that are dedicated to Kentucky. There are another billions of dollars that are dedicated to these mega projects. But until we get guidance on that, we're a long way from construction.
And this is not anything. I like to be very candid. This is not any doings of mine or Speaker Osborne's, nor the governor's.
Right.
We are the beneficiaries, again, of the federal government infusing money into our state. Nothing that we are doing. It is a federal government infusion.
Does the surge in COVID alarm you guys at all, and are you open to taking any actions to address it?
Naturally, you're going to be alarmed. I think both of us have advocated that individuals need to take the shots. I'm taking the shots, boosted. My hometown, some people kind of thought it was kind of interesting, but we were like the 3rd worst county in the nation for vaccinations, and through a program that several of us put together, we became one of the top 10 in the state. So I take it seriously. I think the speaker takes it seriously. But we also understand that people need to realize this is here. And we're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to move forward. We can't sit back and quarantine and stay in the house and not live. We've got to get out and move this economy, move this state, move our education systems forward.
The superintendent of Jefferson County says he wants Kentucky legislators to pass a bill adding on to the 10 existing NTI days. Looking ahead to the session, do you anticipate any action on that?
To my knowledge, he's not presented a plan to us that would do that. We had significant debates and discussions during the special session in September about what was best for all school districts in the state. That was a collaboration between the Kentucky Department of Education, the School Boards Association, Superintendents Association. The Superintendent Polio may have very well suggested something, but I've not seen any concrete plan or any concerted agreement on that yet.
Agree with the speaker. We've heard some things, but not heard anything about the NTI days. If I were really wanting to hear something from JCPS and maybe the governor tonight, I want to congratulate the Courier-Journal. Maybe it was how to address the articles about how their magnet schools have been gamed to cater to the rich and connected, to the detriment of a lot of poor and African American students. That may have been a good topic to discuss tonight.
There were a lot of empty chairs tonight. Do you know where a lot of your members were? Were there a lot of people missing? Was it COVID concerns?
Obviously, attendance at those at these speeches is optional for members. Certainly, I know that there were some. We have some members that are out sick. There were some members. Actually, the governor even reduced the number of people that he brought with him. So I can't speculate as to why people chose not to be there or why they were there. But certainly appreciate the ones that were there, but understand that everybody had to make those decisions on their own.
Likewise.
At all that the pandemic could affect discussion by lots of legislators testing positive, having to isolate?
You know, it's the same, Joe. It's the same concerns that we've looked at the last two sessions. Is we will manage those things the best we possibly can, ensuring the safety of legislators and staff to the best we possibly can, but understanding that we have a significant responsibility to the Commonwealth. So we will be here to do our work, and we will manage those things the best we possibly can.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions, maybe one. Anybody?
Where's the schedule for you guys kind of going from here the next few days? It's not really about the state of the Commonwealth, but I know you guys were talking about possibly coming in on Saturday to finish redistricting. Is that still happening?
That is our plan. Yes, we will pass our redistricting plan tomorrow, as will the Senate theirs. Those across will come back and take up each other's plans on Saturday and pass those.
Do you anticipate the bill to push the filing deadline to be called on the Senate floor tomorrow?
Yes.
The governor hasn't said whether or not he'll sign it. Do you guys know what happens if he doesn't sign it by January 7th? Then is that a concern of your all?
Well, we've done this before and extended the lines and opened up the deadlines. In fact, the courts have done it by court order to make sure that you are meeting all constitutional parameters from both the state and federal constitution. So if the governor doesn't sign it, it just creates more chaos about the filing deadlines and things of that nature. That's why we asked him to call a special session earlier. We wouldn't be dealing with this but for the failure of the governor to call a special session on this issue.
We've had a number of conversations with him and around him and about this for weeks, if not months, about the need to do this. I have to believe that whatever decision he's going to make on both the extension of filing deadline and the redistricting maps, I would certainly assume that he would make those quickly. He certainly had plenty of time to make those determinations. So I would expect whatever action he takes, he's going to do so quickly.
Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.